Welcome back, Lincoln currency. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine holding a single penny between your fingers. It's light, small, and to most people, almost insignificant. It's the kind of coin that often gets ignored, dropped into jars, or left behind at a convenience store counter. But what if I told you that a simple 1-cent coin could be worth millions of dollars? Not just thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but millions, sometimes even numbers that sound like they should belong in the art world or rare diamond auctions. We're not talking about a gold coin, we're not talking about a silver doubloon pulled from a shipwreck. We're talking about a penny, a tiny disc of copper or zinc, that can command astronomical prices in the numismatic market. In this video, we're going to take you on a deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the history of money, the evolution of the 1-cent coin, the designs, the weight, the composition, the symbolism, the rarest varieties, and the unbelievable valuations that some of these coins have achieved. The story of the 1-cent coin is also the story of America itself. From its very first appearance in 1793, the humble cent has changed design, changed composition, and changed meaning along with the country. The first cents were not even the same size as the coins we know today. They were larger, heavier, struck in nearly pure copper, and each design carried a symbolic message from a young nation trying to define its identity. The very first design, the chain cent of 1793, featured a profile of liberty on the obverse and a continuous chain of 15 links on the reverse, symbolizing the unity of the 15 states. At first glance, it was meant to be a proud emblem of strength, but to many citizens at the time, the chain looked like a symbol of slavery or bondage, and public reaction was swift. This design lasted only a short time, replaced by the wreath cent in the same year. But that short production run has made the chain cent one of the most sought-after coins in existence today. Low-grade examples sell for thousands of dollars, while pristine examples can reach well into six figures. Over the next decades, the 1-cent coin continued to evolve. Liberty's portrait changed multiple times: flowing hair, draped bust, and eventually the classic coronet head. By the mid-1800s, copper prices began to rise, and the large copper cents were expensive to produce. This led to the introduction of the smaller Flying Eagle cent in 1856, which marked a major turning point. This coin was smaller, closer to the size we know today, and struck in a copper-nickel alloy, reducing cost and weight. But the Flying Eagle design itself was short-lived, replaced just 2 years later by the iconic Indian head cent in 1859. Designed by James B. Longacre, the Indian head penny depicted Lady Liberty wearing a Native American headdress, an image that has become one of the most recognizable in numismatics. These coins, especially from rare years like 1877, are now worth significant amounts in high grades. The Indian head cent continued until 1909, when the U.S. Mint decided to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth with a new design. This was revolutionary. No real person had ever been depicted on a U.S. coin intended for circulation before. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent showed Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse. The wheat design symbolized prosperity and growth, fitting for a coin that would circulate widely among the people. But there was controversy even here. Brenner's initials, VDB, were placed prominently on the reverse of the coin in the first issues. Some critics felt this was too bold, almost like advertising his name. The Mint quickly removed the initials, creating the famous 1909 SVDB penny, struck at the San Francisco Mint with only about 484,000 coins made. This coin is one of the most famous rarities in American coin collecting, often selling for tens of thousands of dollars in top condition. The wheat reverse continued until 1958, when it was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959, commemorating the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This reverse showed the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and if you look closely on a high-quality example, you can actually see a tiny depiction of the Lincoln statue inside the memorial. This design lasted until 2008, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history. But during this long history, there were some extraordinary mistakes, misstrikes, and experimental issues that have turned ordinary coins into treasures. Perhaps the most famous of these is the 1943 bronze cent. During World War II, copper was needed for the war effort, so pennies were struck in zinc-coated steel instead. These steel cents are common enough. They stick to a magnet and have a distinctive silver color. But somehow, a few leftover bronze planchets from 1942 were struck in 1943. Only a handful of these bronze pennies are known to exist, and when they appear at auction, they sell for staggering amounts. One example, the 1943 bronze cent, sold for over $1.70 million. Another famous error is the 1955 double-die penny. A die misalignment created clear doubling in the inscriptions, especially visible in God We Trust and Liberty. About 40,000 of these coins were released into circulation, and most were quickly noticed by the public. Today, a crisp uncirculated example can sell for well over $50,000, and even circulated examples bring thousands. This is just scratching the surface of the penny's long and fascinating history. Over 2 centuries of design changes, composition adjustments, mint mark variations, and rare errors have created a complex and exciting collecting landscape. And while most pennies are worth just 1 cent, a tiny fraction of them can be worth life-changing sums of money. When we look at a 1-cent coin, one of the most overlooked yet fascinating details is its weight and composition, and how those two factors have shifted over time in direct response to economic pressure, war demands, and changes in minting technology. The very earliest cents, like the chain cent of 1793, were massive compared to modern pennies, thick discs of nearly pure copper weighing over 13 grams. As the years went by, the mint sought more efficient production, and the size was gradually reduced. By the time the small Flying Eagle cents appeared in 1856, the weight had dropped to 4.67 grams, and the composition had shifted to a copper-nickel alloy. This wasn't just an aesthetic choice, it was a financial necessity. Copper prices fluctuated, and nickel was seen as a practical alternative for durability and cost management. The Indian head cents, which followed, underwent their own composition change in 1864. Early issues from 1859 to 1864 were copper-nickel, but the mint transitioned to a bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. These coins weighed 3.11 grams, a weight that would continue through the wheat penny years and beyond, until the major change in 1982. The Lincoln wheat cents of 1909 to 1958 maintained that 3.11-gram bronze composition, though in 1943, for 1 year, the copper was replaced with zinc-coated steel, dropping the weight to around 2.7 grams. That 1943 steel penny has become iconic in its own right, not for its rarity — hundreds of millions were made — but for the singular appearance of a steel-gray penny that sticks to a magnet. And yet, among those hundreds of millions, the real treasures are the few mistakes that slipped through. When a handful of leftover bronze planchets were struck in 1943, they created a mystery and a legend: the 1943 bronze cent. It looks like an ordinary wheat penny to the untrained eye, but the experienced collector knows the signs. The weight is slightly higher than the steel cent, and it won't be attracted to a magnet. Stories of these coins surfacing in pocket change have fueled generations of collectors to check every 1943 penny they come across. After World War II, the bronze composition returned, but the mint kept looking for ways to save money. By the 1970s, inflation and rising metal costs once again put pressure on the cent's production. Finally, in 1982, the mint changed the composition of the penny to a core of 97.5% zinc, plated with 2.5% copper. The weight dropped to 2.5 grams. That year, both bronze and zinc cents were produced, creating an interesting dual composition year for collectors. And to make things even more intriguing, there were small date and large date variations in 1982, so numismatists have multiple varieties to seek out. Design is another aspect that speaks volumes about the penny's history. Every design element has a purpose. On the obverse, the portrait of Abraham Lincoln has remained remarkably consistent since 1909, though minor modifications have been made over the years to improve striking quality or adapt to new minting technology. The reverse designs have shifted more dramatically. The wheat ears of 1909 to 1958 gave way to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, a design that lasted for 50 years. In 2009, to celebrate the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth, 4 special reverse designs were issued, each depicting a different stage of his life: his birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C. In 2010, the reverse was changed again to the Union Shield design, symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the nation during the Civil War. Every reverse design is filled with symbolic meaning. The wheat stalks symbolized agricultural prosperity, the memorial represented Lincoln's enduring legacy, and the shield embodies unity. The edge of the penny has always been plain, no reading, helping distinguish it from higher denomination coins by touch alone. Collectors pay close attention to every aspect of the coin: date, mint mark, strike quality, and any signs of doubling or die cracks. A tiny mint mark letter, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mark for Philadelphia, can mean the difference between a common penny worth face value and a key date worth thousands. The 1909 SVDB, with its tiny S mint mark, is the perfect example. Only 484,000 were struck, and high-grade examples are among the most valuable wheat pennies in existence. This brings us to the heart of the matter. How does a penny go from being worth 1 cent to being worth millions? Rarity is the first key. Coins with very low mintages, or coins from a year when only a few were made in a certain mint, can become legendary. Errors are the second key. Coins struck with mistakes, such as the 1955 double die obverse, the 1943 bronze cent, the 1944 steel cent, or the 1972 double die. These mistakes are usually the result of misaligned dies, leftover planchets, or unusual production conditions. Condition is the third factor. A coin in uncirculated condition, graded MS65 or higher by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, will always command a premium compared to a circulated coin with wear and scratches. Now we come to the big numbers that shock the casual observer. While most valuable pennies sell for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, a few have crossed into the 7-figure range. The 1943 D bronze cent has sold for as much as $1.7 million. The 1958 double die obverse penny has fetched over $1 million at auction. The 1793 strawberry leaf cent, an early large cent with an unusual leaf detail, sold for $862,500 in 2009. These are confirmed auction results, backed by reputable houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers.so. Where does the $77 million figure come from? This number often appears in sensational headlines, usually referring to a hypothetical valuation of a perfect, unique specimen, often exaggerated by media or private sellers to attract attention. In reality, no penny has sold for $77 million at public auction. However, in theory, if a unique coin of extraordinary historical importance were discovered, say, a previously unknown prototype or pattern coin, it could spark a bidding war among elite collectors and institutions that could push the price into the tens of millions. This remains speculative, but it's not impossible in a market where rare collectibles have reached unprecedented valuations in recent years. The market for rare pennies remains strong, driven by passionate collectors, the nostalgia of coin hunting, and the simple thrill of turning spare change into treasure. A single cent can hold a century of history in its tiny frame, and for the right coin, that history translates into staggering value. Some coins become famous because of their beauty, others because of their rarity, but a select few enter the realm of legend because their stories capture the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters across generations. The 1943 bronze cent is at the top of this list. Imagine the scene. The year is 1943, the world is at war, and copper is so essential to the production of ammunition and electrical components that the United States Mint decides to change the composition of the penny to steel coated with zinc. Hundreds of millions of these new steel cents are struck. But somewhere, perhaps because a few leftover bronze planchets from 1942 were still stuck in the machinery, A tiny handful of brown cents are accidentally struck with the 1943 date. These coins look like ordinary pre-war wheat pennies, but the year betrays the impossible combination. Most of these coins were never intended to leave the mint, but they somehow made it into circulation. The number known today is tiny. Fewer than 20 examples are confirmed across all mints. Every time one surfaces, it becomes front-page news in the coin world. A collector who discovers one in pocket change can suddenly find themselves in possession of a small fortune. One 1943 bronze cent sold for $1.7 million, and experts believe that if another example in perfect condition were to appear, it could easily break that record. Equally captivating is the 1955 double-die cent. This is a coin that is almost poetic in its creation, an accident of the minting process that produced a visual effect so striking it can be seen with the naked eye. On this coin, the doubling of the inscriptions on the obverse is unmistakable. "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appear as if printed twice, slightly offset. The story goes that the error was discovered early, but not before tens of thousands of coins had been mixed with normal cents and released into circulation. Many of these coins entered everyday use in the northeastern United States, and word spread quickly among the public. By the late 1950s, collectors were scouring rolls of pennies from banks hoping to find one of these double-die errors. Today, the 1955 double-die is one of the most famous error coins in American numismatics, and its value reflects that fame. A crisp, uncirculated example can fetch over $50,000, and even worn examples bring thousands. The 1909 SVDB penny is another coin whose story is part of American coin folklore. When the Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin proudly displayed his initials, VDB, at the bottom of the reverse between the wheat stalks. But some critics felt that the initials were too prominent, almost like a signature on a painting. The mint decided to remove the initials, but by that time, a limited number had already been struck at both the Philadelphia and San Francisco mints. The Philadelphia coins are collectible, but the San Francisco issue, with a mintage of only 484,000, became one of the great key dates of American coin collecting. The 1909 SVDB is a coin that nearly every serious penny collector dreams of owning, and in high grades, it can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. Then there's the 1877 Indian head cent, often called the king of the Indian head series. That year, the U.S. Mint struck only 852,500 cents, an extraordinarily low number for a circulation coin. Why so few? The country was in a prolonged economic downturn, and the demand for small change had dropped. Most of the coins were used hard in circulation, so surviving examples in high grade are rare. The 1877 penny is a prime example of how low mintage, combined with heavy use, can create a legendary rarity. Even a well-worn example can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, and mint state coins can command prices that rival more modern rarities. The 1944 steel cent is another mistake that has gained legendary status. In 1944, production returned to bronze planchets after the one-year experiment with steel in 1943. But a few leftover steel planchets somehow remained in the presses and were struck with the 1944 date. These coins are extremely rare and look just like the 1943 steel cents, but the date makes them anomalies. Only a handful are known to exist, and they sell for huge sums whenever they appear at auction. Each of these coins, the 1943 bronze cent, the 1955 double die, the 1909 SVDB, the 1877 Indian head, and the 1944 steel cent, illustrates the perfect combination of rarity, historical interest, and collector demand. And their market values show just how high that combination can push prices. Even beyond these famous examples, the world of pennies is filled with fascinating varieties. The 1972 double die cent, the 1992 close AM cent, the 1995 double die cent, and the elusive 1969 S double die are all coins that can be found, if you're lucky, in pocket change or old coin jars. Each has its own story, its own collector base, and its own market value that can reach into the thousands. And then there's the idea that a penny could be worth tens of millions. While this is often exaggerated in sensational headlines, the truth is that the market for ultra-rare coins is strong enough that if a truly unique specimen were discovered, perhaps a prototype Lincoln cent struck in gold as a presentation piece, or an experimental cent never documented in mint records, it could ignite a bidding war among the world's top collectors and museums. In such a case, a number like $77 million, while extraordinary, wouldn't be entirely beyond imagination. In the world of rare pennies, condition is everything. A coin's grade can mean the difference between a modest collector's item and a treasure worth a small fortune. Grading is the system used to describe the condition of a coin, and it's one of the most critical aspects of numismatics. Most casual collectors describe coins as good or bad, but serious collectors use a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin. This scale, known as the Sheldon scale, was developed in the mid-20th century and has become the universal standard. A coin graded MS65, for example, is mint state, meaning it has never been circulated, and the 65 reflects its superior strike, luster, and minimal marks. Professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, have transformed the market. Before third-party grading, buyers and sellers had to trust each other's descriptions, and disagreements over condition could kill deals or leave one party feeling cheated. Now, coins are sent to these companies, examined by expert graders, assigned a grade, and encapsulated in tamper-proof holders. This has brought new confidence to the market and allowed coins to be traded sight unseen across the globe. For rare pennies, the grade can create exponential differences in price. A 1909 SVDB penny in very fine condition might sell for a few $1,000s, but in MS67 red, it can bring tens of thousands. A 1955 double die in AU50 might be worth several $1,000s, but in pristine mint state with full red color, it could be worth $50,000 or more. Even common dates can become valuable if they are perfectly preserved, because collectors compete to own the highest graded examples for registry sets. The psychology of collecting is fascinating. Why would someone pay millions of dollars for a 1-cent coin? It comes down to rarity, competition, and prestige. Owning a unique or finest known coin is like owning a masterpiece painting. There's only one Mona Lisa, and there might be only one coin of a certain variety in perfect condition. Wealthy collectors, investors, and sometimes even museums will compete fiercely for these coins, driving prices to incredible levels. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions have become the battlegrounds for these high-stakes showdowns. When a legendary coin comes up for sale, the auction catalogs are prepared months in advance, filled with glossy photographs, detailed descriptions, and historical context designed to entice bidders. The coin is previewed at shows, displayed under bright lights, and discussed in hushed tones by collectors who know they may never see it again. On auction day, the tension builds. In the room, serious bidders sit in reserved sections, while others bid by phone or online. The auctioneer starts the bidding, and the numbers climb quickly. Sometimes, a coin will double or triple its pre-sale estimate in the heat of competition. When a record is broken, the news travels instantly across the numismatic world. A 1943 bronze cent selling for $1.7 million. A unique 1793 cent crossing the $1 million threshold. Each of these moments becomes part of coin collecting history, remembered and retold for decades. But for every record-breaking auction, there are thousands of smaller stories happening at coin shows, flea markets, and in quiet coin shops. Collectors search rolls of pennies from banks, hunt through estate sales, or carefully examine old jars of change passed down from relatives. Every collector dreams of finding the rare date, the doubled die, the transitional error that everyone else overlooked. And sometimes, these discoveries happen. A 1943 bronze cent found in a school cafeteria in the 1940s. A double die Lincoln pulled from circulation by an alert cashier. These stories fuel the passion for the hobby. Even modern pennies can have surprises. Transitional errors like the 1983 copper cent, struck on leftover bronze planchets after the switch to zinc in 1982, are extremely rare and valuable. Certain close AM varieties from 1992 or wide AM varieties from 1998, 1999, and 2000 have become sought after because of tiny differences in the spacing of the letters in America on the reverse. These varieties prove that even coins less than 30 years old can hide treasures if you know what to look for. And then there is the allure of what has not yet been discovered. Collectors speculate about patterns. Prototype coins struck in small numbers to test designs or compositions that may exist in private collections or hidden in mint archives. If one of these were to surface, it could send shockwaves through the market. A unique coin with undeniable historical importance could draw bidders from around the world, including collectors who see it not just as a piece of numismatic history, but as an investment, a tangible asset, and a symbol of prestige. The idea of a penny worth $77 million sounds outlandish to most people, but in this rarefied world, numbers like that are not impossible if the coin is unique, historically significant, and in perfect condition. We've seen similar jumps in other collectibles. A baseball card selling for $12 million, a painting for over $400 million, a rare stamp for $9.5 million. If the right penny with the right story comes to market, the bidding could reach heights that make headlines across the globe. The story of million-dollar pennies isn't just a catalog of coins and dates. It's a saga of human obsession, ambition, and the thrill of pursuit. Picture an auction room in a grand hotel ballroom, the air electric with anticipation. The chairs are lined in neat rows, but the seats are filled with some of the most determined collectors and dealers in the world. At the front, under bright spotlights, a single coin rests in a display case, guarded and magnified on large screens so every tiny detail is visible. It could be a 1943 bronze cent, a 1909 SVDB in pristine condition, or an unknown variety making its public debut. The audience knows this is their moment. The auctioneer begins with an opening bid. A hand goes up in the front row. Another bidder, sitting with a phone pressed to his ear, nods slightly as an unseen client instructs him to bid higher. The price jumps in increments of thousands, then tens of thousands. At a certain point, the increments change. Now it's rising in steps of $50,000, then $100,000. A hush falls over the crowd. This is no longer about a penny. This is about history, ownership, and legacy. Two bidders remain, each unwilling to back down. The numbers climb higher, each bid a challenge, each pause in the auctioneer's voice a breathless moment of tension. When the hammer finally falls, the room erupts in applause. A new record has been set, and another chapter is added to the legend of rare pennies. Collectors like Josiah K. Lilly, Louis Elias Berg, and the Norweb family have built legendary collections that are still discussed decades after they were assembled. Elias Berg, in particular, is famous for having owned one of every U.S. coin ever minted. His Lincoln cents included the finest known examples, each carefully preserved. When his collection was sold at auction, the coins set records not just because of their rarity, but because of the provenance, the history of who had owned them. In numismatics, the name attached to a coin can add an extra layer of desirability. Modern collectors like Bob R. Simpson, a Texas oil magnate, have continued this tradition. Simpson's collection, sold in parts over several years, included some of the rarest cents ever struck. Each sale became an event in the numismatic calendar, drawing bidders from around the world. These auctions were more than sales. They were celebrations of the hobby, moments when private treasures were revealed to the public before moving into new hands. But the hunt for rare pennies isn't limited to millionaires at auction houses. All across the country, collectors of every age are searching. Coin roll hunters withdraw boxes of pennies from banks, $25 at a time, each box containing 2,500 coins, and go through them one by one, looking for key dates, errors, and varieties. The odds of finding a $1 million penny in circulation are astronomically low, but smaller treasures still appear. Wheat pennies from the 1940s and 1950s are still out there. Occasionally, a 1909 VDB turns up. Sometimes someone stumbles onto a doubled die or a transitional error that's worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. There are stories of incredible luck. A man in Massachusetts found a 1943 bronze cent while counting change from a soda machine. A teenager in California discovered one in his lunch money and later sold it for a life-changing sum. These stories spread like wildfire, inspiring new collectors to start searching their change jars. The drama extends even to coin shows, where dealers set up rows of cases filled with gleaming coins. A serious collector will move from table to table, eyes scanning for something unusual, a color that seems too red for a coin of its age, a mint mark that looks slightly off, a date that hints at a rare variety. Deals happen quickly, sometimes in whispers, as experienced dealers recognize a rare variety that others might have missed. Behind all of this is the steady hum of the market. Prices for rare coins fluctuate like any asset, influenced by the economy, collector demand, and discoveries of new hoards or varieties. A big auction can set new benchmarks. A coin that sold for $200,000 a decade ago might bring $500,000 today if demand has grown and supply remains fixed. Conversely, if several examples of a coin suddenly appear on the market, prices might dip temporarily. But for the ultra-rare coins, the ones with populations you can count on one hand, prices almost always trend upward over time. And always, in the background, there's the tantalizing idea that something new could surface. Perhaps in an old collection, forgotten in an attic. Perhaps in a bank vault where it has sat for decades. Perhaps even in pocket change. The possibility of discovery is what keeps the hunt alive. Every collector knows that the next legendary penny might still be out there, waiting. The world of rare pennies is not just about what is known, but about what is rumored, what is whispered about in hushed conversations at coin shows, and what is speculated in the back rooms of auction houses. Some of the most tantalizing stories in numismatics are not about coins we can see, but about coins that have vanished or may have never left the U.S. Mint in the first place. These are the legends that stir the imagination of collectors. One of the most enduring mysteries involves experimental coins and pattern strikes. The U.S. Mint has, throughout its history, tested new designs, metals, and techniques before releasing coins into general circulation. Many of these test coins, called patterns, were never intended to leave the mint. But sometimes, a few examples escaped into private hands, often exchanged between mint officials, politicians, or influential collectors of the time. Some patterns are now openly known and catalogued, like the 1856 Flying Eagle cent, which was originally a pattern before becoming a regular issue. But others may still be out there, sitting in private collections, hidden for generations. Then there are the rumors of certain years and varieties that have not been confirmed but are speculated by experts. For example, we know of the 1943 bronze cents and the 1944 steel cents. But could there be a 1943 bronze cent struck at each mint location, including unique proof examples? Some believe there could be presentation strikes made for mint archives that were never accounted for. If one of those surfaced, the value could skyrocket to unprecedented levels. Government recalls add another layer to the mystery. There have been times when the U.S. government has actively sought to retrieve coins that were struck in error or under unusual circumstances. In the 1970s, the government famously moved to recall 1933 St. Gaudens double eagles, claiming they were never legally issued. Similar situations have occurred with patterns and experimental coins, though much more quietly. Collectors wonder how many rare cents were quietly recovered, melted, and destroyed before the public even knew they existed. Lost hoards also play a role in the mythology of rare coins. A hoard is a large group of coins hidden or stored for decades, only to be discovered later. Hoards have been found in bank vaults, safety deposit boxes, and even buried in the ground. When they come to light, they can change the market for a particular coin overnight. Imagine if a hoard of 1909 SVDB cents in uncirculated condition were discovered. It would be one of the most important finds in the hobby's history. More tantalizing still is the idea that there could be undiscovered hoards containing rare error coins or unique varieties. Collectors trade stories of coins seen once and never again. A certain double die that was reported in a numismatic journal in the 1960s but has not been confirmed since. A proof strike of a year not known to have proofs. A cent with an unusual alloy that appeared briefly in a private sale and then vanished into a collection, never to be auctioned publicly. Whether these coins truly exist or whether they are the stuff of legend, the fact that collectors believe in them adds excitement to the chase. Even in modern times, the potential for discovery is real. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins each year, and mistakes can still happen. Most are minor and go unnoticed, but occasionally something significant slips through. Transitional errors, off-metal strikes, and doubled dies continue to appear. The Internet has only amplified the spread of these discoveries, allowing collectors across the country to share their finds instantly. But beyond errors, there is the allure of the one-of-a-kind specimen that no one knows exists until it appears. If a coin like that surfaced, say, a prototype Lincoln cent struck in gold or a unique composition test from a critical year, it could command a price so high that even $77 million wouldn't seem far-fetched. Wealthy collectors, investment groups, and even museums could compete, each driven by the knowledge that owning such a coin would be like owning a piece of the mint's deepest secrets. These whispers, these hints of what might be, keep the passion alive. For every coin in a grading holder with a population report, there is a dream of the coin that isn't on the report, the one waiting to be discovered. And so, collectors search. They go through their change. They attend estate sales. They visit small-town coin shops, hoping that the next drawer opened will reveal something extraordinary. As we step back and take in the whole sweep of the Lincoln cent story, it becomes clear how something as ordinary as a penny can transform into an object of almost unimaginable value. At first glance, it seems impossible. Billions of these coins have been struck since 1909. They pass through countless hands every single day, dropped into vending machines, tossed into jars, forgotten in couch cushions. But within this ocean of copper and zinc are a few tiny islands, rare issues, errors, patterns, that stand apart. And it is these outliers that form the foundation for the extraordinary values we see. The idea of a $77 million penny becomes less far-fetched when you consider the perfect storm of conditions that can make a coin truly priceless to the right buyer. First, there is rarity, absolute, undeniable rarity. Not just a coin that is scarce in high grades, but a coin that might be unique, or one of only 2 or 3 known. When the supply is that small, the normal rules of pricing vanish. Second, there is condition. A unique coin that is also in gem mint state, preserved with blazing original luster and sharp details, can leap far ahead in value. Third, there is the story. Every great coin has a story that becomes part of its identity, whether it's a dramatic minting error, a piece hidden away for decades, or a specimen connected to a famous collector. Combine these factors, and you have the recipe for a headline-making auction. We have already seen this play out in other areas of collectibles. A baseball card that once sold for a few dollars now sells for over $10 million because of rarity, condition, and story. A painting discovered in a small house sells for hundreds of millions because it is the only known work of a master in private hands. Coins are no different. They are, in many ways, small works of art themselves, struck in metal instead of painted on canvas. When such a coin appears, the buyer pool changes. It is no longer just coin collectors who are interested. Investors see an opportunity to own an asset that is not tied to the stock market, something tangible that has a track record of appreciating over decades. Wealthy individuals see prestige, the bragging rights of owning a coin that no one else in the world can claim. Museums and institutions might enter the bidding, knowing that the coin could become a centerpiece of their collection, drawing visitors and generating publicity. The auction itself becomes a global event. The catalogs are printed in high resolution, the coin is photographed under perfect lighting, and its history is told in meticulous detail. News outlets pick up the story. Rare penny expected to shatter records at auction. Suddenly, the entire collecting world is watching. On auction day, the atmosphere is electric. Bidding begins, perhaps at $1 million, a figure that already seems staggering for a coin with a face value of 1 cent. But the bids rise quickly: $5 million, $10 million, $15 million. The increments grow larger as the price climbs higher, each new bid a statement of determination from the bidders still in play. At a certain point, it stops being about the monetary value alone. It becomes about winning. It becomes about securing a place in numismatic history. Bidders know that the coin will not appear again for years, perhaps decades. When the hammer finally falls, the final price, whether it is $77 million or even higher, becomes part of the coin's legend. The new owner's name is added to the provenance, and the coin moves into its next chapter. But the most fascinating part of all this is that the cycle continues. Each record-breaking sale inspires new collectors. Someone hears the story of the $77 million penny and begins checking their change, just as earlier generations searched for 1909 SVDBs or 1943 bronze cents. Dealers look more closely at their inventory, just in case something has been overlooked. Auction houses dig into archives, wondering what other treasures might be hiding in collections they have yet to appraise. And so, the Lincoln cent remains one of the most enduring and exciting areas of American numismatics. A humble 1-cent coin, struck for everyday commerce, has the power to ignite bidding wars, to inspire treasure hunts, to connect generations of collectors. Whether or not a specific penny will one day sell for $77 million, the fact remains: the conditions that could make such a sale possible are already in place. And in the unpredictable world of rare coins, the next record is always just one discovery away. The journey toward a $77 million sale begins quietly, as it always does. Somewhere, in an unassuming place, a bank vault in a small town, an old metal cash box stored in the back of a closet, or perhaps in the bottom drawer of a deceased collector's desk, rests a coin unlike any other. It may be sitting in a small envelope, its significance forgotten by time, or perhaps nestled in a protective holder with a faint handwritten note that says simply, "Very rare." The person who first sets eyes on it in the modern era may not even realize what they are holding. Perhaps it is a coin that numismatists have whispered about for decades, a supposed prototype or off-metal strike rumored to have been made in 1943 or 1944, intended only for mint archives. The date and composition are correct in some ways, wrong in others, an unmistakable anomaly. The design is crisp, the luster brilliant. A magnifying glass reveals minute details, die markers that match no known examples. At first, there is uncertainty. Could it be a well-made counterfeit? A novelty piece? But the weight, the sound, and the magnetic properties line up exactly with what they should be for something far rarer than any known issue. The finder takes the coin to a trusted numismatic expert. In the world of rare coins, reputation matters, and authenticating something this extraordinary cannot be done in haste. The expert handles the coin with gloved hands, examines it under intense lighting, compares it to reference materials, and feels a growing conviction. The diagnostics are perfect. The strike is sharp, the die alignment consistent with secret mint trials from the period. The coin is submitted to a top grading service, perhaps PCGS or NGC, where a team of senior graders, each with decades of experience, examine it independently. When the coin emerges from the grading room, it is encapsulated in a pristine holder with a label that makes collectors' hearts skip a beat. Unique. A population of one.news spreads quickly, but cautiously at first. Word travels quietly through the upper tiers of the coin market, a discovery unlike anything seen in decades. Auction houses reach out discreetly. Major dealers whisper to top clients. Wealthy collectors make their interest known. Soon, the existence of the coin can no longer be kept secret. Numismatic publications run articles about it. Online forums buzz with speculation. What year is it? What makes it unique? Could this be the coin that finally shatters all records? The auction is set. It will be held in one of the grandest venues in the numismatic world, perhaps in New York, perhaps in a hotel ballroom in California, or even streamed globally from a state-of-the-art facility. The coin is given a spotlight position in the auction catalog. High-resolution photographs capture every detail of its surfaces, from the sharpness of Lincoln's profile to the delicate wheat stalks on the reverse. The description reads like a piece of history. The only known example. A coin that should not exist. A relic of the mint's most secretive work. In the weeks before the sale, the coin is displayed at major coin shows, where crowds gather to catch a glimpse of it. Security guards stand nearby. Collectors line up, peering at the coin through glass cases, knowing they are looking at something they will likely never see again. Auction house representatives note the reactions, expressions of awe, whispered valuations, the inevitable question: how high will it go? The day of the auction arrives. The room is packed. Cameras are set up for live streaming to bidders around the world. The auctioneer takes the podium, the coin displayed prominently on screens. The opening bid is set high, but within moments hands are raised. A phone bidder jumps in. An online bid flashes across the screen. The price climbs steadily: 5 million, 10 million, 15 million. The crowd is hushed, hanging on every number. At 20 million. Only a handful of bidders remain. They are serious players, seasoned collectors, private equity groups that see the coin as an investment, perhaps even a museum with a wealthy donor backing them. At 30 million, the tension is palpable. The auctioneer's voice rises with each new increment. 40 million is reached, then 50. The bids slow, but the determination does not. At 60 million, there are two bidders left. One is in the room, a man seated calmly with a paddle in his hand. The other is on the phone, speaking quietly to someone on the other end. The increments are now in millions. 61. 62. 65. The crowd is silent except for the auctioneer's rhythmic calls. At 70 million, there is a long pause. The man in the room hesitates, then raises his paddle again. 71 million. The phone bidder counters immediately. 72. Back and forth they go, the tension building with each bid. Finally, at $77 million, the man in the room raises his paddle for the last time. The phone bidder pauses, the seconds stretching out. The auctioneer calls for any further bids. None come. The hammer falls. The room erupts in applause. A record has been set, not just for a cent, not just for a US coin, but for any coin in history. In the days that follow, news of the sale spreads beyond the numismatic world. Mainstream news outlets cover the story. Pennies sells for $77 million. Interviews are conducted with experts, who explain the rarity, the history, and the significance of the coin. The new owner, if they choose to reveal themselves, is celebrated as the custodian of a national treasure. If they remain anonymous, speculation only fuels the legend. Collectors everywhere feel a renewed surge of excitement. If such a coin can exist, if a 1-cent piece can command $77 million, then perhaps other treasures are still out there, waiting to be discovered. The hunt begins anew, and the cycle of discovery, authentication, and auction continues. In the days and weeks following the $77 million sale, the numismatic world is transformed. The coin, now recognized as the most valuable cent ever sold, becomes an instant cultural icon. It is discussed not only in coin forums and auction houses, but also in mainstream news cycles, podcasts, financial shows, and even casual conversations about extraordinary treasures. A penny, the smallest denomination in everyday commerce, has now achieved a price that surpasses the value of entire collections of paintings, luxury cars, or even estates. Collectors react in a wave of excitement. Coin dealers, overwhelmed by the surge of interest, begin seeing unprecedented crowds at their shops and booths. People who have never cared about coins before start rummaging through jars of change, checking dates and mint marks, hoping lightning might strike again. The humble Lincoln cent, once so common that it was often overlooked, becomes the object of renewed fascination. The new owner of the $77 million cent, whether public or private, becomes a figure of intrigue. If their identity is revealed, interviews begin to surface. They speak about their reasons for buying the coin, about the sense of history and legacy tied to holding a unique piece of American minting history. If they remain anonymous, speculation becomes even more intense. Was it a billionaire collector, an investment consortium, or perhaps even a museum working through an intermediary? Market dynamics shift almost immediately. Other rare cents, 1909 SVDBs, 1914 DS, 1922 Nodies, 1943 bronze cents. See their prices spike as collectors reassess what the upper end of the market might be willing to pay. Auction houses adjust their estimates upward, recognizing that new benchmarks have been set. Coins that once traded in the tens of thousands now flirt with six-figure prices. The Lincoln cent market, long considered a classic but stable corner of numismatics, enters a new golden era. But the $77 million sale also sparks debate. Some numismatists caution that such a price, while spectacular, may not be sustainable unless the coin is truly unique. They wonder if the publicity will bring forward other extraordinary specimens hidden in collections or estates, which could either strengthen or dilute the market. Others argue that the sale has cemented rare cents as investment-grade collectibles on par with the most coveted coins in the world, from ancient Orient to legendary gold pieces. Meanwhile, the coin itself takes on an almost mythical status. If it was purchased privately, whispers circulate about where it might be kept. Some imagine it locked away in a vault, others believe it could be on temporary display under heavy security at a museum, traveling from city to city for special exhibitions. Every glimpse of the coin in public, every high-resolution image released, only adds to its allure. For collectors, the story becomes more than just about a single coin. It is about possibility. If a penny can achieve such a figure, what else is out there waiting to be discovered? Old myths about rumored pattern strikes, experimental metals, or undocumented varieties take on new life. People begin to re-examine coins long dismissed as oddities, double-checking every small detail for something that might have been missed before. Coin shows begin to feel different. Dealers see more young collectors, more fresh faces with coin rolls in hand, more excitement in the air. Television segments on financial networks highlight coins as alternative investments. Even the U.S. Mint, observing the renewed public fascination with cents, subtly embraces the wave, showcasing historical displays and promoting the heritage of Lincoln coinage in public exhibits. The $77 million sale does something far deeper than set a price record. It reawakens a sense of wonder. It reminds people that history can hide in plain sight, that the smallest objects can hold the greatest stories, and that value is not only about metal content but about rarity, beauty, and the shared fascination of millions of collectors. The ripple effect is felt not just in prices, but in passion. And so, in the months that follow, the hunt for the next great discovery intensifies. Somewhere, another unique cent may still exist, untouched, unrecognized, waiting quietly for the day when it will emerge into the light and ignite the market once again. In the months after the $77 million sale, the coin world hums with an energy it has not felt in decades. Every major coin convention, from the ANA shows in Chicago to the West Coast Expos, is filled with eager faces. Veteran dealers who have been in the business for half a century say they've never seen so much interest in cents, not since the days when rolls of wheat pennies were sold by the box to eager young collectors hoping to fill their blue Whitman folders. But this is different. This is not just casual searching, this is treasure hunting on a global scale. Auction houses report a surge in consignments. People who have held on to coins for decades suddenly decide now might be the right time to test the market. Many of the coins coming in are common dates, but every so often, something remarkable appears. A 1955 double die in superb gem red surfaces, drawing 5 times its previous record price. A perfectly preserved 1909 SVDB graded MS68 red sells for an amount once thought unimaginable for a cent. Collectors begin paying premiums not only for rarity, but for condition that is almost unreal in its perfection. International attention grows as well. The story of the $77 million cent has crossed borders, reaching collectors and investors in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Suddenly, rare American cents are being pursued by buyers from London to Tokyo to Dubai. Wealthy individuals who once focused solely on ancient gold coins or European crowns now begin competing for key Lincoln cents, drawn by the combination of artistry, rarity, and cultural significance. In the midst of this global fascination, whispers begin to circulate about another extraordinary discovery. A Midwest family, sorting through the belongings of a grandfather who had been a bank manager in the 1940s, finds a small cloth bag labeled simply Odd cents keep. Inside are several uncirculated wheat cents, all beautiful but ordinary, except for one. The color is subtly different, the weight slightly off. Under magnification, it is clear this is not a regular copper alloy strike. Experts confirm it is a pattern piece, struck in a composition never before documented, likely a trial run for a wartime plan that was abandoned. It is authenticated, graded, and declared unique. When news of this coin spreads, the market reacts like it did for the $77 million cent. Though not quite as dramatic, this new piece becomes the most talked about coin of the year. Predictions of its auction value range wildly: 20 million, 30 million, perhaps more. Collectors realize they are witnessing a period in numismatic history that will be remembered for generations. The $77 million cent sale becomes the benchmark, the standard by which all extraordinary coins are measured. Just as the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle reshaped the gold coin market when it set its record, the Lincoln cent now occupies that same legendary status for copper. Its sale inspires not only collectors but also scholars, who begin publishing more research on experimental strikes, mint errors, and die varieties, hoping to uncover the stories behind coins that might still be waiting in obscurity. As years pass, the legacy of the $77 million cent grows. Its image appears in numismatic books, in documentaries, and in lectures at collector conventions. The coin is referenced in financial publications as an example of how tangible assets can hold and grow value over time. It becomes the subject of educational displays at museums, inspiring new generations to look closely at the coins in their own hands. The global coin market itself evolves. Auction houses expand their operations, offering more coins with high production values in their catalogs, using ultra-high-definition video previews to attract bidders from around the world. Private coin funds emerge, pooling investor money to acquire elite pieces with the expectation of long-term appreciation. But perhaps the most important change is more subtle: the shift in how people see coins themselves. No longer just change rattling in a pocket, coins are recognized as miniature pieces of history, as artifacts that link past to present, as treasures that could be hiding in plain sight. The $77 million cent becomes the spark that reignites a worldwide fascination with numismatics, ensuring that the search for the next great discovery will never truly end.